Okay, so I guess I'll get started with the stuff we've been working on. Um, so I guess first let's talk about the release. Well, I'll go over what we've done and then I'll talk about release schedule. So we're making the final changes to Hive D right now. There's some changes to the authority stuff, but that stuff's it's so we'll have a new Hive D release out, I guess probably this week, I guess. And beyond that, so with the hard fork, we're tentatively setting it for February the 8th, but that's probably not realistic for the real hard fork date. It'll probably be later. But that's because in order to get that, we'd have to actually get a few more changes than that I'd like to get in. But I don't think we'll be able to do those changes by February the 8th. But we'll see. Um, and everything else is looking pretty good. Um, the last things we're doing on half right now is working on making improving the way you upgrade half. So sometimes it could be difficult if we made major changes to half. Doing an upgrade could be problematic. So we've added code to we've basically changed our upgrade process to make it better at detecting and making sure no changes get broken during an upgrade. The other thing we're looking at is, well, some of this is too technical. I won't even get into it. We've got one other change that we want to make to half right now, which is to allow other apps to register creation of indexes on the main half tables. We do that in a couple half apps, and I'm sure other apps will find that useful too. I mean, you could do it, but it just wasn't great the way it was done before. It was there wasn't a central management of the process of adding indexes to the base half tables. Um, HiveMind, a lot of work's been done there recently. I've been doing a lot of work there personally. So we've optimized a lot of the queries on the server side, and we've cut the loading to more than half of what it was before. So the loading has really dropped a lot. And this is in production tests. So what we've been doing is I've set up a node called api.zenCAD.com, and you guys are probably familiar with it because I've mentioned it a bunch of times before. It's a great place to test the changes to the API as we make them. It's also where we've been testing production HiveMind. I mean the HiveMind release candidate. And so we've been sending production traffic from api.hive.blog to that so that we can test to be sure it's handled and load well. And initially the load was pretty high, but it's quite low now. And the biggest change that impacts apps is that we've limited the number of posts that can be fetched, full posts that can be fetched now to 20. Previously, we saw some people that were fetching like 100 apps at once, but that was generating multiple megabytes of data being sent back. So from it's not really something we really want to do anyways, because if you have API calls where you can make very small calls and get megabyte size responses, that also leaves you open to API amplify attacks where someone basically uses a small amount of their own bandwidth to generate large bandwidth on your side. So generally not a good idea for us to have APIs doing that. But that's all taken care of. So what I'd like to suggest is that everybody who's got an app, they set up a copy, they point their API node at api.zenCAD.com and start testing there, looking for any problems. I don't expect anything except that one issue that I mentioned, which is the 20 posts. But nonetheless, it's well worth checking out your app against at zenCAD.com. Let's see. On half API node, which is basically the set of scripts we use to set up an API server, uh, made a bunch of small changes. One of the most notable things was again in dealing with loading, we've improved the caching in Drone a little bit, and this has just been customizing where we found that we could cache some specific API calls better, especially some of the API calls that were kind of costly. Um, I have some ideas in the future for further improvement to how the caching works, but that'll be in a next release, not this one. Let's see. On Half Block Explorer, McFarhat, this will be interesting to you. We've been doing some work right now that should be finished, I think, this week. Also, to speed up block searching. Block searching was kind of a halfway optional thing that in an installation because it was kind of slow and required a bunch of extra indexes. But that was I guess with Postgres 17 we were able to use fewer indexes, so that should be a lot better now. And so that'll be a nice new interesting feature for Half Block Explorer. Let's see. Balance tracker. I made some optimizations there to speed up some of the queries that were used by actually Half Block Explorer. So that will also lowers loading of Half Block Explorer. So Half Block Explorer's load on the server is when it's syncing now is much less. So that'll also be nice. Let's see what else. Wax is getting, I guess, close to done. So we want to basically, just from a scheduling perspective, we plan on releasing all this stuff. And I really am trying to make it done we're shooting for the 18th or 19th of this month. So that's why I really want to incentivize you guys to start testing on API.SendCat if you have an app, because it'd be great if we know that there's a problem before we release rather than after. So anybody's running an API node, of course, this is also scheduled sometime near. It's kind of close to Christmas, I know, but it is a little bit before Christmas. So schedule some time to be ready to upgrade your API node. Let's see. So on the Wax side, things that are remaining, we're adding some ability for updating accounting authority. Hold on just a second. Hello? Yeah, I sent a message. I'll be in a core meeting. I'll call you when I'm out. Okay, see ya. Helps to read the text message. Let's see. So Wax is pretty will be finished for, I guess, Python. I mean, for TypeScript. Still doing work on Python, so I don't know if we'll have the Python done in time or not. We're still going to see if we can make that version ready for public release. Beekeeper's done. We're doing a little work on the Python side with the package that interfaces to Beekeeper, but that'll be done quite soon. Let's see what else. We fixed some problems in the CI test that cause random fails, so that's mainly useful for developers, but it's nice to have out of the way because it's an annoyance. Condenser, I think we'll probably also be releasing, Denser rather. Again, I'm not 100% certain on that, but I'm reasonably certain we'll also release a version of Denser too. It will probably run it side by side with Hive.blog for a bit before we switch over entirely, though. One other thing, we've been working on a health checker user interface, and this is a standalone component, TypeScript component that can be included into any TypeScript app. So basically, I'd like to sort of have, if we can, get the app sort of standardized on using it, and of course, we'll take feedback into how to improve it and everything too. But I'm going to look at that more after. I'm going to review the latest version of that after the meeting, and then I'll probably post, once I think it's comfortable in every way, I'll post a link in the core dev channel so people can take a look at it and see if they'd like to integrate it in their app or not. So that's kind of a high level overview. I guess the big thing I want to announce was the scheduling. So if there's any questions about the scheduling for the releases, we're kind of doing it in the two phases, right? The first phase will be released of the half API node stuff, and there will be a new version of Hive-D, but there's probably going to be a later version of Hive-D in first quarter sometime that'll have yet further changes to it. But there is a Hive-D update as part of the half API node release. And again, I won't have to do that on the 18th or 19th. Okay, any questions about any of that? Concerns?
Yeah. So most API nodes are currently running version 27.5. Is there been any benefit to running a newer version right now, or should we wait for the coming release?
Well, the coming release is literally in a matter of days, so I would say wait.
Okay.
It's
And
literally a couple days.
is there any major change in disk space consumption with the newer version and the one you are working on?
Not really, but there is one issue that if you have a mono, you're probably going to start with the monolithic, a full size block log, and the new one automatically splits that up into individual 1 megabyte pieces. So
Mhm.
it's generally recommended you can turn off that behavior first of all. So there's an option to disable that, so you can still work with the one full size block log. But if you wanted to split it up into multiple block, if you wanted to split up your full size block log, so in other words, if you're not going to do a sync, but if you're actually going to take your existing monolithic block log and split it up, you're going to need more. You're going to need basically 2x the space, because you'll have the monolithic block log while it's splitting up into single pieces. So you'll temporarily need like another 500 gigs during that process. So there's a couple ways you can do this. One way is if you have two file systems, you could put it on. You could probably put the block log on a slower disk and then have it split it onto your faster disk, for instance. Or if you really just don't have the space, you could just do a sync instead of having it split your existing block log.
So I guess upgrading will require a replay.
Yes. Yeah, we're definitely planning this to be a replay of Hive-D, a replay of half.
Okay. Has there been any improvement in replay time?
Yeah, I mean, everything has been improved to different levels. It especially helps if you have better hardware. That's the ultimate replay benefit.
Yeah, but we just finished ours, so I will need to do another one. So I would like to know if
there certainly are some speed ups, and I'm going to try to make. I mean, but there's also more stuff, right? Because now Half Block Explorer is now a standard part of this of the API stack, which that also means the reputation tracker and balance tracker are also new parts of the stack that didn't exist before. Hivemind sync time is the worst of it still. And I don't know that that's been speeded up much. We didn't really focus too much on speeding that up. The other apps are faster, but if your total time is still going to be, dominated by Hivemind time, which I think on our fastest machine, Hivemind itself now syncs in about 2.5 days, but for you guys, it's going to be longer. I would expect 3 to 4 days for a Hivemind.
Yeah, it's around 3 days. Yeah, so should be same for that part.
Yeah, I'm still syncing Hivemind, and our machine is not. I mean, it's not anything short of powerful, but yeah, it takes time. So it's been 2 days now.
I said, I could do it in 2.5 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a question actually, Dan. So before doing all this replay stuff, I tried to grab a snapshot. I think you guys are hosting this on snapshots.hive.blog for the full half, right? Instead of doing the replay. I couldn't manage to really do the whole thing properly. There were a couple of files, one of them with blockchain, one of them full without blockchain, and then the incremental stuff. The instructions on Half API node are not pretty much clear how to do this proper restoration. Okay, so I couldn't figure it out. I don't know if, yeah.
Okay, I'll check that. If you maybe offline, if you can leave me any questions you had about it, because I haven't read that in so long, I don't really remember what it says there. But if you could point out any particular issues you had, just offline, send them to me, and I'll look over what's there.
Yeah, which is just
no, I mean, that's a great point. We should probably, I also need to update that stuff for the new version. So it'd be a good time to improve the documentation there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, because I mean, it's definitely not clear. Still the old instructions, which have been there for like several months, but since the snapshots are now available, so it's not very clear whether to run the main file and then the incrementals and what to do exactly. So even the URL, I mean, it still says whatever.net,
Okay.
It's yeah.
Okay, like I said, I haven't even read that since it was written back, ages ago. So I don't even know what's there. But okay, so it's good, because you brought up an action item that I kind of forgotten about, which is we need to update the state.
So instructions haven't changed, but the initial snapshot is for the old version, and the incrementals are targeted at the original one. So it's
yeah, we got to update all that.
Yeah. If you are familiar with the ZFS snapshots, it should be clear. But for it's not really clear for just copy pasting, because nowadays there are a lot of those incrementals, and you can actually do the shortcuts, because having frequent snapshots takes a lot of space, and you can just skip them if you actually just need to go to the recent version.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I'm not very much familiar with how to restore ZFS snapshots. ZFS is, I mean, something that I recently started exploring once we set up our node. But I mean, I tried restoring the full version without blockchain, and then it wouldn't work. And then I tried the blockchain only, it wouldn't work. Tried the incrementals, it didn't work. I mean, I understand incrementals need a base to start with, but I mean, nothing works. So
yeah.
so I wanted to replay. I didn't want.
We should have been, able to do it without. If you just did a full snapshot, that should have worked. So I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah,
and you can.
I had the issue, Dan, with the environment file. So maybe.
Oh yes, that would have done would have done you in for sure. If you with the wrong environment file, you weren't going to get very far. So I think this will be much okay. So that in fact is almost certainly.
Yeah. Also, if you're using like recent version.
That's what happened. He was using a recent environment file with the old old stuff, and they're just totally incompatible.
Also, I didn't want to spoil the fun, but if you like. Probably the most useful is for those who has actually the fast infrastructure when it comes to the network. So probably you will be faster to just replay your node instead of getting snapshots, unless your network is really fast and server is really slow.
It sounds like we should work with him because it sounds like he's got a fast network connection. So he can be our good test for that site.
Oh,
so
okay.
once
sure,
we put
happy
up
to try it out.
The new snapshots and state files, you'll be the first person to contact.
Second.
Okay,
yeah, but...
excellent.
Well, you're probably doing the work setting it up, so I don't think you count.
Yeah.
We're not racing,
I'm just bragging that my network is faster, so don't worry.
I don't know. I'm running on Hetzner, so I don't know. It's quite a bulky machine. I'm not trying to be competitive.
No. So the snapshots are really like I stopped providing snapshots for the old style Hivemind and account history because it stopped making sense with the big files that you like download and then you actually when you start replaying and then compressing, if you're not paying attention, which is actually faster than you can have like old style account history node replayed faster than you can download it and load snapshots after compressing. So it's mostly very useful if you actually know if it will be faster for you. Because like some witnesses were trying to use my snapshots for witness purposes, and if it's downloading like 10 megabytes per second, it's not actually making faster for them. It's better to just sync from scratch because the same speed you will have just syncing.
All right, fair enough. Okay. You guys want me to maybe? I'm happy to give some updates on our end.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to. I think we got all the questions out of the way for the day because it looks like there's not a whole lot of people to ask questions. So yeah, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, I'll share some updates. Regarding Block Explorer. So we've done several upgrades to different components that were being used in Block Explorer. We introduced a new search component. That allows us to better utilize the autocomplete feature, which was already available in our search bar, where you have the auto suggest for the account names. Now it's available in all the new sections of block search, account search, and a much more robust component that is better configurable and more responsive to keyboard actions and whatnot. We also switched the calendar component we're using that has also more functionality and allows us more meticulous configurations to prevent people putting a forward time in the future as a starting point and backward time in the past for the target date, which was causing improper responses and incorrect data with more validation to the back end. There were some pagination issues all across the Block Explorer, so we also worked on fixing this. we improve the overall performance of the pagination, avoiding errors and whatnot. We're currently doing some refactoring on the searches section, as suggested by one of our team members. He said it's too bulky. Let's try to break it down, improve the whole search code. So he's working on this. We updated some more witness details on the user page. So when you go to your user page, if the person is a witness, previously it just said it's a witness. If he is deactivated, you cannot tell. You could not tell what is his user rank or witness rank. You could not tell what is the link to his announcement post or witness link. So all of these are now also available on the main user page if you go to a person's profile or a witness profile. We did the revamp for our settings menu or the side menu on the mobile view. It becomes more user-friendly now.
How does
we
it feel
recently
overall to
created
use a mobile? Is the app okay for mobile in general, or?
Yeah, I would say it's much nicer now. We've done a lot of enhancements, a lot of fixes on the mobile side of things. So yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the progress. What else? We created recently. We created, kind of like how Hive blocks used to have a single post page where you can see the JSON data of the single
Mhm.
post with how it is by default, the
voting
raw
and stuff,
data
yeah,
and the
yep.
properties. Yeah, but I did not merge this yet because the dev used the old condenser code to fetch the query. I was not, eager to use this, but we couldn't find any other way at the moment to fetch the data. I don't know if you're aware if there's a way to get the post content and post data other than using condenser at the moment. Is there some REST API? Is there some way via WAX which you can use to grab the data instead of condenser API?
Well, that's essentially going to be it's going to be a HiveMind call, and usually if there's a condenser version of it, there's a bridge version of it, which is usually the same thing. Except it's better implemented. So there's probably a bridge call, but if you just send me the specifics on the call, I can check it because that's what I'm actually working on right now is HiveMind. So I'm more familiar than I normally am with those API calls. And I can look it up pretty quick.
Okay, I'll send you excellent. I'll send you the API calls we're currently using and see if we can use any alternative because I'm trying to also fade away from condenser API.
Okay, so another test I've kind of got for you guys too actually is the new health checker. It's got the old health checker integrated already, but I want to update and use the new health checker. So I'll like I said, I'm going to check that after this meeting today, and if it looks good, I'll contact you. I'll create an issue for that for you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you too. I don't know if you had anything else.
Oh, no problem. We've also made some fixes for the witnesses schedule page. So there were some blocks being missed where witnesses are not being properly tracked for producing blocks. This was also fixed. We have better handling for no result searches. We've done some GUI improvements. We introduced a couple of font awesome icons on the witness page. We're starting to work on some more integration of balance tracker data into the Block Explorer. We're trying to expand to bring some cool functionality to Block Explorer, seeing the history of the balance for the user.
Cool.
So we're starting to so we're starting to work on a single page display of the history, but also we're looking to introduce some sort of a chart that on the user's page that shows his history of the the balance and how his account is growing. So yeah, basically this is it for the last month.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
No, I don't. I think there's one thing I got to look up on the history is I can't remember how it's implemented right now. There's probably some improvement we might want to do on the back end related to the history as well. I can't remember if the history right now does it. So one of the things we found handy in another application where we had a similar thing with history was, it's internally it's got like a bunch of data points for all the changes, but then when you actually go to graph something like that, you just want the amount of points you want is basically relative to how far you're zoomed out, because you basically don't want more points than you have pixels. Otherwise, you're just getting data. That's you're just getting a larger than needed data response. And I don't know if the current API does that kind of work, but if not, we probably want to have somebody assigned maybe Xander could do it eventually, to basically do that kind of filtering on the back end side so that it cuts down the points to the amount of points you need.
I see. Okay,
And
that
that
makes
gets
sense.
really
Yeah.
important. You can
Yeah.
imagine easily, right? Because if you're zoomed out, you don't want 10 million points just because you're looking at a long period of time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that might be a blocker for this issue too, for you right now, for that particular one. Just to let you
Yeah.
know.
I'm just having one of the devs try to look into how we can properly implement this. So they'll probably run into this issue like you mentioned. I mean, they're just trying to capture the whole idea what we can do. But
Yeah, and the UI and
but yeah.
everything be spec'd out there too, right? You could have everything almost spec'd out except just the API call at the end. So it's not like it's a big deal. It's not a complete blocker. I just mean the final implementation you'd need probably need backend code changed most likely, I think. Okay. Anything else?
All right.
Or I guess that's probably it.
No, not from my end. Thank you.
Arcane, did you have anything to report?
No, nothing else.
Okay. I guess that's it for today then. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, goodbye next.
Bye.
See you.